Hey everybody, and welcome to Aja's Crochet Corner, where today I am wearing my next project. And it's back. So this is the blanketed poncho. Okay, and you see we have like a little small turtleneck thing going on here. Let me fix my collar. All right, so yeah, this is the blanketed poncho. Okay, and we have buttons on each side. See the buttons? Yeah, we have buttons on each side. And I made this for a Christmas present for someone, and I actually caught a photo of it, which I rarely do, and I posted it to Instagram. And I had quite few people ask me how to make it. So I'm doing the tutorial today to show you how I made this one. I love it. It's very simple pattern. And just so you know about sizing, so like I'm 5'3", and it falls like my knee is right here, so it falls like right above my knee. And as you see from the, it goes from about my elbow to about my other elbow. Let me see if that, yeah. So it goes from about elbow to elbow. So if you decide to do a different size for yours, all you simply have to do is chain from elbow to elbow. And of course, you're going to make it as long as you want to. And this is done in two pieces. So we have the front piece and we have the back piece. And then we're going to slip a border around the bottom and around the sides. So I'm going to make sure I put the measurements for this piece without the border on it, so you know how long this one is and how wide it is, so you can see what size would be right for you. So we're going to get this tutorial started. We're going to get right to the table. Only thing I thought about adding to it is the pocket. So of course, if you want to do a pocket on your poncho, then you're just going to use the same pattern and make it small. Make a little small little piece right here, and you can put a pocket on there. So, and as much as I love pocket, y'all, I do not know why I have not done that yet. But I will. Not on this one, but I will. And I really like this. And the buttons on the side are perfect. And I love how long it is, and it really feels like, it just feels like a warm hug. That's how it feels. So you guys, enough of me. Let us get to the table and let me show you how to make this beautiful piece so you own it in your collection. Okay? All right, you. Okay, everybody. Now that we're at the table, uh, I have already done the back piece and I've done some of the front piece. So we're going to need two pieces in order to make that. And the pieces are rather large, so you only see a fraction of it. Um, but I wanted you to see the pattern up close on my color scheme. Okay. So I start with purple, and I start with purple and I do 10 rows of purple. I do 6 in navy blue. I have 3 in cream, 2 in cameo, and 1 in, not even sure what this color is, because it was scrap yarn. I used some scrap yarn that I had for these 3 colors. But it's like a purplish color. Let's see. So that's how I decided to do my repeat colors. Okay, so these colors repeat out throughout the whole pattern. So now that we see how I did my colors, let's talk what you'll need. So for this project, oh, and before we move on, I also want to mention, make sure you have 4 buttons, because we're going to be putting buttons on the side. I have some other buttons I'm looking at using, but I think I might go with these ones. Damn know yet. So but make sure you have buttons for your side. You'll need 4. There'll be 2 on each of the sides of our work. I would suggest to go with let me see, let me measure these ones so I could tell you exactly how big these ones are. Yeah, at least 1 inch buttons, 1 inch or bigger buttons, okay? Now moving on, I use Burnett Super Value. Now I had 3 of the navy blues, 3 of the purples, so that's 6 of them total. And then I wound up bringing in, like I said, some scrap yarn that I had to do the smaller little lines, just in colors that I thought complemented and worked well with the other 2 colors. So I'm going to say in total, you're going to need 7 of these. And you probably will have some left over. Now, there are 426 yards in the Burnett Super Value. So if you use something else, just know that you're going to need that times 7. Okay. So altogether, I know I'm gonna probably have some left over. This is one of the ones that I'm gonna be using because I know after making it quite a few times, I know that I'm gonna need about 1 and whatever's left off the top of the front piece for my border. Okay, so the piece. So let me move this out the way and move the yarn out the way. I'm going to be working with a 5.5 millimeter hook. Okay, so the whole piece, even the border, will be done with a 5.5 millimeter hook. And so let's go back to this piece. The size of this piece will be in the description box. The dimensions of it will be in the description box for the back piece. The front piece is pretty much just like this. We're just going to stop. Let's see, let me show you. Woo, woo, woo. That's all the back piece. The front piece, when we get to the top, we're going to stop shy 4 rows. And we're just going to work up, leaving a gap here for our neck. Okay. So this back piece is going to be, in total, it's going to be 82 rows. Okay. So our back piece will be 82 rows that we're going to do the in the pattern that I'm about to show you, and we're going to chain 110 in order to begin. And the front piece, we're only going to work up to 78 rows, and then that's when we're going to bring in the little neckline that I showed you, that I told you about, leaving off 4 rows and then just building 4 rows on one side and 4 rows on the other side. So we've explained it all, so hopefully you'll be able to get it. Now, this pattern is really, really simple. We're really going to just be doing double crochets and single crochets and alternating them, okay? So let me bring in a swatch, and I'm going to show you how to make this pattern. Like I said, it's very simple, but it has such beautiful detail, and I think you see that more when we see it, when the color blends come in, especially with the little rows. So yeah, I love it, and it's so pillow-like. It's very, very soft. So let's bring in our swatch. Okay, so I want to show you the pattern. The pattern, again, works in multiple or nothing. So if you decide to do more or less, changing the size from what I'm demonstrating, then don't worry. You could just chain it as long as you want, and that'll be fine. So it works in multiples of none, and also with this sizing, you're going to be chaining 110. Okay, so to make the size I'm making, you're going to be doing 110. I am just going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're not going to be making our first stitch, the first chain from the hook. We're going to be going into the second. And we're just going to be doing single crochets. So we're going to single crochet down this whole first row. And this is the only row that's going to be different from all the other rows. So after going down this whole first row, you're going to have 109 single crochets. Now that 109 stitches will carry out throughout the whole back part, and it will carry out throughout majority of the rows for your front part, except for the last 4 rows, which we'll be doing something else in. So you should have 109 stitches on every single row. Okay, so once we get to the end of this row and every row, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work. All right, we're going to yarn over and into that first stitch, which is right here. We're going to go in and make a double crochet. And in our next stitch, we're going to make a single crochet. And our next stitch, we're going to make a double crochet. And our next stitch, we're going to make a single crochet. And again, double crochet. And then a single crochet. Double crochet. And in the next stitch, single crochet. And then in that last stitch, we're going to make a double crochet. And that is the repeat for the whole entire piece. Okay, just alternating double crochet and single crochet. So when we get to the end of our work row, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. So we ended on a double crochet from the previous row, and that one we're going to put a single crochet. Yarn over, and the next stitch is a single crochet from the previous row. We're going to put a double crochet there. And the next one is a double crochet from the previous row. In the top of there, we're going to put a single crochet. So as you see, all the doubles should be getting singles, and all the singles from last row should be getting doubles. And the next one is a double. That double should be getting a single crochet. And the single should get a double crochet. And the next one is a double, and that's going to get a double crochet. And the next one is a single, and that's going to get a double crochet. And the next one is a double, and that's going to get a single crochet. Now we're going to chain one, and we're going to turn our work. So our last row we ended with a single crochet, so that means we're going to begin this row with a double crochet, and we're going to double crochet right into that single crochet from the previous row. And our next stitch should be a single crochet, and the next one a double crochet, and the next one a single crochet, and the next one a double, and the next one is a single crochet. The following one is a double. And then we have a single crochet. And the last one is a double. So we're going to chain one, and we're going to turn our work. And let's go over that one last time. So we ended with a double crochet. That last row with a double crochet, so we're going to begin with a single crochet. Then next is going to be a double, and that's going to go right into our single crochet from the last row. And then single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, and double crochet. I'm going to end this with a single crochet. Okay, so that's your pattern back and forth. The whole piece will be done in alternating doubles and single crochet. Where you have placed a single crochet in the previous row, on top of that will be a double. Where you've placed a double crochet, on top of that will be a single. And it will go on like that the whole pattern. So you should never have two doubles on top of each other or two singles. It alternates back and forth. Okay, so we're going to do that one last time, and then when we get to the end, I'm going to show you how to change colors. So chain one, turn our work. This is a single crochet, so we begin this row with a double, and the next one is a single, double, single, double, single, double, single. Now our last stitch is a double. I'm gonna just grab a color, any color. Grab this one, and I want to come in with my new color at the end of this row. So I'm going to go in there and start my double. Now before I make the last stitch, right, to make it a double, I'm going to drop this yarn and I'm going to add my new color in. So I'm going to add my new color in by simply wrapping it around my finger. Okay. I'm going to add this onto the hook and I'm going to pull this through here to complete that double crochet. All right, and of course we drop this behind. I'm going to cut this and I want to cut it good enough to point where I can comfortably weave that in later on. And I'm going to keep going on with the new color. So we're going to chain one, turn our work. Now we ended on a double crochet, so we begin this row with a single crochet. And the next stitch would be a double. And then a single crochet. And then a double crochet. And then a single crochet. And then a double crochet. Single crochet. And then a double crochet. Okay, now our last stitch is a single crochet. Now before I go in there, I'm going to go ahead and get my next color. And let's just pick this color so I can show you one more time how you switch colors. Now with a single crochet, I'm going to go in and pull my yarn up. Now all I will have to do is pull through one more time and I will be completing that single crochet. So I want to stop right before I make my last move to complete. And we're going to drop this yarn and I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Now you can cut it after you complete it. I'm just cutting it now so it's not in the way of me showing you guys. I'm going to cut that and I'm going to grab my yarn, wrap it around my finger, add it on my hook, and I'm just going to use this to pull it through. Chain one, turn my work, pull this down a little bit, and now I have my new color on. Yarn over. The first one should be a double crochet. The next one should be a single crochet. The next one a double crochet. The next one a single crochet. The next one a double. And the next one a single. And the next one a double. And the next one is a single. And that last one is a double crochet. Once you bring in the color changes, I think that's when you are really able to see the pattern, well, the stitches and how they pop out. So I definitely would suggest switching colors, even if you just add a little color. And if you want to complete this piece in all one color, it's nice still. Let's see. But this is going to be how we do all of our rows. So again, that foundation chain for the back piece and the front piece is 110. So for the back piece, we're going to go up 82 rows for the back piece. Okay. For the front piece, we're going to go up 78 rows, and then we're going to stop there. You won't cut off your work. I'm going to come in and show you exactly what we're going to do. Okay, so we've got our back piece with our 82 rows, and now we're working up our front piece. Now I've came to 78 rows from my front piece, 4 rows shy of what I need to match up to my back piece. And we're going to stop on that row so we can make our neckline, okay? So I'm going to come on down here. Now I'm about to start my my next row. I've done the 78 rows, and now this is my 79th row. Smooth that aside. And this row is going to begin with a single crochet. So I have to keep my pattern down for 42 stitches, okay? So we're going to put in 42 stitches following our pattern, and then we're going to stop and we're going to work back and forth for 4 rows, okay, total. So 1, and it's 3, 4, 5. So work on down to your 42nd stitch, and then I'll show you what to do. Okay, so I am at my 42nd stitch. Okay. So when I get there, I want to chain 1, and I want to turn my work. And now we'll just be working back and forth from here, from this point. So my last stitch was a double, so that means I have to do a single crochet and double and single, and now I'll be going back and forth just on this one side until I have 4 rows. So this is the 3rd row. I have 2 more rows to do after this. So just keeping with the pattern. And I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And you see we already have a little bit of edge going on there. And I'm going to put my next 2 rows on. So I'm just going to go from here to here, stop here, chain 1, and go back the other way, okay? So we should have 4 rows that sit up like this. So this is 1. We just completed the 2nd one, and now we'll start the 3rd one. So do 2 more rows like this, and then we'll go on the opposite side and do the same thing. Okay, so I have my 4 rows here. When I'm done, I'm gonna cut my yarn and gonna pull that right through the loop. Now we have to get 42 on the opposite side. So we're gonna move this down, and we're gonna do the same thing And we're going to do the same thing here. Okay, so I'm going to add my yarn on this side, and my last stitch here, you see, is a single crochet. So I'm going to add my yarn here, and I'm going to place a double crochet. And my next stitch would be a single crochet, and I'm going to keep the pattern all the way down so I get to the 42nd stitch. And remember, we're doing the same thing we did on the other end. So I'm going to go down till I get to the 42nd stitch. Okay, so I have come in and stopped at my 42nd stitch. Okay, now from here to where we just stopped, we should have 25 stitches here. Okay, so I'm gonna chain up one, and I'm gonna turn my work. Now I already have one row. I have to put the same 4 rows going up, so we already have one row, so we have to do 3 more rows on this side, and then we'll cut off our yarn just like we did on the opposite side. All right, so I'm gonna go up 3 more rows, so I have my total of 4 rows going up, and then we'll join this to the back. Okay. All right, so I'm at the end of those 4 rows, cutting my yarn, and I'm gonna bring this through. So we should have 42 stitches on this row, on this side, going up 4 rows, 25 stitches here in the middle, unworked, and then we should have the 42 stitches going up 4 rows on this side. Okay, so now this piece and our back piece, we want to make sure we put the tops together. So if you have changed colors like I have and have kept a particular color pattern, please make sure you put yours on the right way. Want you to have to take it back out. So now what we're simply going to do is we're just going to be joining these, okay, the front part to the back part, and we're going to be going from here all the way to where we have our opening. Okay, those 42 stitches. So you're going to be working 42 stitches in the back and the 42 stitches you just created on the opposite side and the front. So I'm going to grab my yarn, the same color that I did my last row in, which is the navy blue for me. And I'm going to add my yarn in the first stitch here and in the first stitch in the back. Add my yarn on, and I'm going to go right back in and make a single crochet. Now we're going to be making single crochets down this whole line. So I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch here and into the next stitch in the back, and I'm going to be joining it together. I'm going to be going through the next stitch here and going through the next stitch in the back, and we're going to single crochet that all together. Now we're going through the next stitch here and the next stitch in the back, and we're single crocheting all of that together, and the next stitch here and the next stitch in the back, and we're going to single crochet all of that together. So that's going to be how we're going to go down these 42 stitches and add this on this side. Okay, then we'll cut our yarn, and then we'll go on the opposite side and do the same from the other way, because I want to work from here in. Okay, so that's why I'm doing I would normally have the front piece in front of me so I can see where the opening is, but we'll have to flip it around, so at either way, one time we go down this row, we will have to have it at our backs. Well, have it behind the back. Alright, so I'm gonna go down to 42 here, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright, so I've gotten to the end of my 42 stitches and joining them together, and that's it. So now I'm gonna flip this over. Now you see we have one joint in on one side. Now we have to do the opposite side. And this is what I was saying when I say I usually work with the back piece in front like this, but I like to work from the end on in like this. So at one time on one side or the other, I have to have it in the back of me. So here we go, and that's our little dip. You see our little dip? Lovely. So now we're gonna go on this side, pull this down, and we're gonna close off this top by going in the front, the first stitch in the front, and the first stitch in the back. And now we will be going down these 42 stitches and joining them in the exact same way that we just joined the other ones, by single crocheting and basically matching stitch for stitch. So it's one, it's two. So go all the way down until you get to your last stitch, and then we're going to work and then we'll work the neckline. Okay, so I have both of my ends sewn on, well, crochet down, and this is going to be my opening. Now this is definitely now the wrong sides, because now we have joins here. So I want you to take and turn your piece on the right side. So that's just a simple flip. You see our join area right here. You actually can't see it much, but it's right there. So that is now your new side. Now we're going to get ready to do the neck, but we're going to take our yarn needle, and if we look at the sides of our piece where we have joint all of our different colors, we now need to weave that in, because the only thing we have left to do here is we're going to be going around the neck, giving it a heighted collar, and we're going to be going down the sides and across the bottom. So we don't want to have to pause in the midst of all that bordering to put these down. So what I tend to do is the ones that are right next to each other, there should be where you stopped and started. I usually tie these down. It's a simple knot because we will be working right over this, and this is why, well, like I said, we're putting it down now because we don't want it to become be in our way as we work. Put that on your yarn needle, and we're just going to weave in through its color. Okay, so whatever color you have on your yarn needle, that's the color area that you want to work in. And you're just going to weave that back and forth as many times as you feel comfortable with. That's why I like to secure it with a knot before I do this. And then I'm going to cut this off immediately when finishing, so I don't get confused on if I did that one or not. And I'm going to take and show you this one as well. Now I'm working just in the area in which that color is. So I know it's not much in this area, but I'm going to work this back and forth nonetheless. Then I'm going to cut that and move that out the way. So I'm going to do that to both ends. We have hair around both sides. I actually already did this side just to get it out of the way because I knew it was coming up. So I did this one of the panels, the back panel, as I was going along. The front panel, I did not do it. So we're going to do that here all the way around on both ends. And again, like I said, I already did my back panel. I just have to do my front panel. And I'm going to put all those down, and then we'll come back in and do all of our borders. Okay, so I've gone all around the sides and weaved in all of my ends. I even weaved in my ends inside, so there should be no loose ends that is going to get in the way of us putting on our border. All right, so now we're going to do the neck line. Okay, and we're going to come up and put on almost like a turtleneck, but it's not a tight turtleneck. We're only going to go up slightly, but I'm going to turn my piece on the back sides, and remember, we're working on the right side of our piece. Okay, so your piece is turned on the right side, but we're working starting in the back. Now we're just going to go through somewhere around the middle of the back of the neck. And let's add on our color. Now, whatever color you're going to put on your borders will be the color that you're going to work with all the way around. Now, I'm going to work with navy blue. So I'm going to add my yarn on. And then I'm going to go right back into that same spot, stitch, and I'm going to make a double crochet. And so you know the whole border will be worked in double crochets. And I'm going to go all the way around in every stitch, putting a one double crochet in every stitch all the way around. And every single stitch. Now I wanted to show you where we put the joint in at. Let me turn this slightly. Now this is our joint area right here where we joint the two pieces together. We're going to make sure that we go into that joint area. Well, let's see. This is the joint area right here. We want to make sure we are on either side of it. And of course there's stitches there, but I want to make sure you you get that. I'm going to turn my work around a little bit. This is a really big piece to work with. Now we're coming into the front, and the front we're going to keep going, just putting one stitch, one double crochet in every stitch. Now, yeah. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm going to talk about the upcoming rows. When we finish this row, we're going to do 3 more rows just like it. So we're going to have a total of 4 rows of just double crochets. Turn our work some more. And almost back around to the back area. Right? And we're almost back to the beginning. Now when we get to the last stitch, just here, we're going to slip stitch into the top of our beginning double crochet. So go in, grab your yarn, come out, and then go into the other loop. Now we're going to chain one, and we're just going to go around again. All right, but when you get to the chain one, in order to keep your row straight, we're going to have to turn our work. So turn your project, and we're going to go back the way we came. Okay, so we just came from here, we chained one, and we turned our work, and now we're going to go back into the last one we just did and work back this way. So at the end of every row, you're going to chain one and turn, and we're going to have a total of 4 rows of just double crochet. So I'm going to get my 4 rows, and I'm going to come back in, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so when I've gotten to the end of making 4 rows of double crochet, chain one, and I'm going to turn my work. All right. Okay, now we want to put a row of just single crochet all the way around. So 1 row of single crochet and all the double crochets you just made all the way back around to here. Okay, so now we're going to slip stitch right into there after we did our row of single crochets and chain one. Now we're going to do a row of double crochets again. Okay. And we're going to put 1 double crochet into each single crochet that we have here. So I did not turn my work that time. We won't be turning the work anymore. We're going to put on this row of double crochets, and then we're going to finish this off with front and back posts. So I'm going to go all the way around, and I'm going to show you how to do the front and back posts. So come back here and okay, so I have done my row of double crochets. I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch that we've done in that row. I'm going to chain one. Now we'll be doing front and back posts. So we're going to yarn over and into the first stitch that we have here. We're going to go behind that double crochet from the previous row, and we're going to grab our yarn, pull it up, and that is where we'll be making a double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, and in the next stitch from the previous row, we're going to go and put our hook in front of it. Grab our yarn and pull up and make our double crochet. What we've just done are front and back posts by placing the hook behind the double crochet, we're pushing that double crochet forward, okay? And by putting the hook in front of it, okay, and making our double crochet there, we're pushing that one back. So we will be alternating front and back posts for the rest of this row and the next the next few rows, but I'll walk you through to the end so you can see how to maintain that pattern on the next row. So we'll just be going behind the last double crochet and making a double crochet and placing our hook in front of it and making our double crochet. So behind it and in front of it and make our double crochet. So again, we'll keep that doing that front and back post until we get to the end of the row. Okay, so I have gotten all the way back around to the beginning, and I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch, and I'm going to chain one. I'm going to yarn over, and we're just going to carry out the same pattern for 3 more rows, okay? So I am going to keep my front post and work behind it, and my back post by working in front of them. And I'm going to do this for 3 more rows. So when done, we will have total of 5 rows that'll have this rich looking stitch to it. And this is going to end off our neck. So I'm going to work my 3 rows and I'll come back in and show you how it looks once we flip this top portion down. Okay, so I've come to the end of my 3 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 rows total. And now I'm going to cut my yarn, bring this through, and then we're simply going to flip this down. Now when we made that row of single crochets, that just helps make the flip down that more just natural, okay? So it's actually bending with that row of single crochets is right there. Okay, so it bends, like I said, perfectly there. Now if you want to, let's talk neck for a second. If you want to add more rows on with your front and back posts to make it come down more, then do that. That looks nice too. And if you don't want that folded turtleneck feel, then when we first establish the 1 row of double crochet, then instead of doing these 3 rows, I'm doing the following rows of double crochet, go right into this portion where you're just doing your front and back posts. So if you do not want that turtleneck feel, and this is a wide one, Okay, this is why this does not hug the neck at all. But if you don't want the turtleneck filled, after you do your first row of double crochets, then go immediately into your front and back post, and that'll give you that curve edging, and it'll just put a border around your neckline, and it'll look like this stitching. Okay, so just different options. You could always make this area shorter, you can make this area longer, or you can just have this area here around here. I always like to give different options, different things, because I do this way today. Tomorrow I might decide I want one, and I want one just with without the turtleneck. Then I might want one with a turtleneck, but I want it like my turtleneck to be super baggy and be all hanging down in this area. So I just wanted to mention that just so you have different options if you decided you wanted to make it a little different. But like I said, I'm gonna pull this back down here. We just have to weave in the end here where we started and where we ended off. I like this. Okay, so now that we've done the top, let's work immediately with the bottom, because we put the bottom border on before we put the top border on. And now I have already put one side of that border on, and this is the very bottom of our piece where we started. I literally was working in the foundation chain all the way with my first row. Now I'm gonna do the other side, but this is one side, and we're going to be doing that rib stitch, that's front and back post, just like we did at the top of the neck, and that's what's going to be at both bottoms and along both sides. So I'm going to show you how to do that with the other side. So make sure you are working with the front of your piece facing you. Okay, so this is the right side of the bottom of my work. All right, and again, we'll start with bottoms, and you want to do your bottoms before you do your sides. So bottoms before sides. So let me get some more of my blue. And we're going to add on our yarn. At the end. And we're going to go in that same stitch and make a double crochet. Now this is the bottom where we should have placed our where our foundation chain is on both of your bottoms. So it should be easy to find each double crochet placement space. You're going to go right into each stitch from your foundation chain. You see that? And since we already have established spaces there, we should still come out with the same amount that you chained in your foundation chain and kept up throughout the whole pattern. That should be the same amount that you have here. Because it is because we're not creating our own stitches. Like when we get to the side, we're gonna have to create stitch places to put stitches, because unlike working around the neck or at the bottom, we're coming in on the side of stitches. Okay, so when we come back to work the sides, we will have to establish our own path, where here our path, and around the neck our path is already laid out for us. All right, so I'm going to go to the end of this row, just making double crochets. And I will come back in when I get to the end, and then we'll start establishing our front and back posts together. Okay, so I've made it all the way to the end, making my double crochets, and now I'm going to chain one and turn my work. All right, so our first stitch here, and we're going to go right into that first stitch. We're just going to place a double crochet. Okay, and now here is where we'll begin to do our front and back posts, and the same for at the sides, and on the other side. Your first and your last stitch will be a double crochet on top of the double crochet from the previous row, and the first and last stitch will be a double crochet into that first and last stitch. Okay, so our second stitch will begin the front and back posts. So we'll go behind that and work, and then we'll go in front. And remember, you must alternate. Okay, we're going behind. And we're going to go in front. Behind. And in front. So we're going to keep doing the front and back posts all the way down to the last stitch. The last stitch, we will place a double crochet in the last stitch. Now we will do, I think on the other side, I decided to do 4. Yeah, I did 4. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, we'll do 4. I usually like to make this part, this border chunky, but due to the length that I already had going on with this, I'm going to decide to keep it at 4. So after this row, and this width is our second row, the double crochet row was our first, the start of our front and back post, that is the second. We will then do 2 more rows of maintaining our front and back post rows. Okay, so in total we'll have 4 rows for our border. All right. And don't forget, double crochet at the end by itself, chain 1, and turn your work after every row. And then just maintain your pattern. Front post with front post, back post with back post. Okay, so we want to look at the piece a little bit wider as I explain how to start the sides. So you see we have finished our top, and we have put the border around the bottoms. Now we'll be working the side, and the side will go all the way from the bottom border all the way up, around, and back down to the other side of the border. Okay, so I wanted to take a wider look at it. You see we have done our neck right here, and we've come all the way down here, and we have done our bottom border on both sides. On both pieces, okay, that are now connected. Now we want to come and do our side edging, okay? So we're going to put the same border, but instead of 4 rows, we're only going to put 3 rows. And we're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to come all the way up and around and come all the way down. So as you see, the side is a larger area than the bottom was. Now, the first row that we're going to be putting on is just going to be the 1 row of double crochet. And then we're going to chain 1 once we reach the opposite end. We will turn our work and then work back around this way. But then we'll be starting our front and back posts. But what you need to know about the side piece is this is where we'll be putting buttons, okay? Now, in one spot, we'll be putting the button holes. Now, the button holes are going to go on what's the front piece. Now, you know which side is your front because the front, we only did 2 rows of our repeat, and then we went into the neckline, and our back is all, we have the 6 rows of our repeat. So this is the front of my work, and this is the back of my work. So the front is going to get buttonholes. Now I'm choosing, and you can choose to put your buttonholes where you would like, but I'm choosing to put my buttonholes on the second, on the second large, this is the bottom, on the second large purple area in the middle. Now I did 10 here, so I'm going to put it right at the 5 mark, the first 5, and the same on this side. I did 10, so I'm going to go up to what would be the 5th row and make sure I put my buttons in the same place here. And once we do this, we have to make sure on the opposite side we put our buttonholes on the same side. So in the front panel is going to get the buttonholes, and that's not until the second row. So our first row is going to be a row strictly of double crochets all the way around, and then we'll come all the way back around with our front and back posts. And then once we get here, that's when we'll place our area for our buttonholes, and the border, which will be over here when we finish, that's where we'll place our buttons. So I'm going to do my whole first row of double crochets all the way to the end, and then we'll come in with that. Now I'm going to show you how to place. Now, as you can see, going up the side here, there is no actual placement, definite placement for your double crochets, like there was on the bottom and around the neck. But you're just going to place them, which seems to be a even, there's no wrong or there's no right, as far as how many of them you have, as long as they're not too bunched up and they're not too far away. So you're going to kind of find that in between ground, as if they were already placed stitches, putting them next to each other but not on top of each other, because on top of each other is going to give you too much slack. Putting them too far away is going to draw it in some. So Yeah. But I'm going to show you kind of how I place mine. So let's look at that. Okay, now I'm going to add my yarn on. And again, this is the front side of my work. And this is the pattern panel that was the front panel. That is the front panel. So I'm going to add my yarn on at the bottom. And let me move this, the back end. And then I'm going to place a double crochet in the same stitch that I joined my yarn on. And we're just going to be making double crochets. Now, as I said, there is no definite place for you to go, but you want to kind of place it so that they look like there was. Okay. So I'm going to go down this whole piece all the way to the opposite side where the other bottom border is, just making my own path. And as you see, it's not entirely perfect, but we will be going back and forth and putting front and back posts, so it will make it look all even. You don't have to worry about that. But you do not want them to be too far away, and you do not want them to look like they're sitting right on top of each other. So that is my start. Now I'm going to go all the way, like I said, back to the other side, and I'll come back in and I'll show you how to establish your row of front and back posts again. On the next row. Okay, so I have gotten to the end of the first row on the side. I'm going to chain one and turn my work. Okay, so remember the first one is just a double crochet on top of the double crochet from the previous row, just like we did at the bottom border. And then the second stitch is going to be where we begin our front and our back post. Front and our back post. And we're going to do this all the way down this row, with the exception of the two places that we're going to be leaving for our buttonhole. Okay, So I am this side is the this piece, whole piece is the back end. So I know the back end is not where I'm going to place my buttonholes. The front piece is. So I'm able to now work front and back posts all the way down this line until I get to my where I joint. Then over here is the front piece. So once I get to my front piece, once I cross my joint area and I'm on my front piece, then I have to decide where is it that I want my buttonholes. And I mean, we've already pre-discussed where I'm going to place my buttonholes, and that is within the largest area, and that is the purple. So when I get back around here, I'll show you exactly how to make the buttonholes. Now your buttonholes may not be in the same space as mine. Just want you to have an idea of one, how many rows, and we'll talk about that when we get there. How many rows to keep it, keep one buttonhole from the other, and just to get an idea of placement. And you're going to pick the best place you want on yours for your buttons to go. Okay, so I am almost getting ready to place my first buttonhole. Let's see, I'm gonna do one more and make sure I'm right. Yeah. Okay. So my next buttonhole, my first buttonhole is going to go right here. That means I'm not going to do anything for this stitch. I'm just going to chain one, yarn over, and I'm going to go through the next stitch. Okay. So where I wanted my buttonhole to be, right at where this stitch is, as you see again, I chained one, skipped this stitch, and then front post where my next front post was supposed to be. And that's it. And that should leave enough space for my 1 inch or more buttonhole. So now I'm going to keep going back down the line, and I'm going approximately 22 rows down. Okay, not 22 stitches, because what I'm doing on the side, not 22 stitches, but the actual piece, I'm going to go 22 rows down about this area to put my next buttonhole in. So if we're counting from the bottom, and this is the bottom, where this buttonhole is going to go is at the 27th row. 22 rows later, this is the 49th row in which we begin. But we're coming in to it from the neck. So wherever you decide to place yours, if you want to use my guidelines of 22 rows up, place your first buttonhole, and then 27 rows up, place your first buttonhole, and then 22 rows later you place your second. Then you can do that, but keep in mind the dimensions of this piece. If you make it smaller, then you might want to adjust those numbers, but at least it gives you an idea. I am in my purple area, and I know that my stitch, my 27th row is in there. So let me count. Yeah. So my button should be about here. And of course you can place stitch markers or a piece of tied up yarn to know where you should be placing your buttonhole. I know mine is going here, and this is the 27th row right here. So I'm just going to skip this stitch. So I'm going to go into my next stitch. I'm going to skip this stitch because this is exactly where I want my buttonhole to be. So I'm going to chain one, yarn over, and jump right over that stitch and place my next post. You see that? So there, right there is the hole for that button. And then I'm just going to finish out the rest of this. All the way to the end of the row. So I'm going to go to the end of the row. I'm going to chain one. I'm going to go to the end of the row, remembering that the last stitch in the end of the row is going to be a double crochet, standing on top of the double crochet from the previous row. Chain one, turn my work, and come back up the same way, okay? So when I come back on the next row, and it is our final row, I will come here and show you what to do when you get to the buttonhole. Everything else will be maintaining the pattern that we're establishing right now in this row. All right, so I am on my third row, and I am coming back upon our buttonhole, which is right here. And I want to show you what you do when you get there. So we're just maintaining our front and back posts. But when we get to our buttonhole, we want to put a double crochet right inside. Okay, just simply put a double crochet right inside of where your buttonhole is. And then you're going to go back to maintaining your pattern. So at the end of working your piece, you should have 4 buttonholes, and they both should be on your second row of the side of your border. So don't forget to go back in that space and put that double crochet. You don't want to skip over it the second time. So I am going to go up to my next, and let's show you that again just in case. Now, and you want to put more buttons, I also wanted to say than this, then that's fine. Just find your placement, make sure they're almost evenly spaced apart, and just make your buttonholes in the same way that we made these two. So bad with pictures. I make tons of things and I don't bother to take a picture to show off anything. I don't do it for the show off. I do it because I just enjoy doing it. So I sometimes forget to take pictures, but I made one recently and I did 3 buttons along the side, and that looked lovely as well. So I'm gonna get better with my picture taking. All right, I am coming back up because I'm back into my purple. So here is my buttonhole there. See it. So we're gonna go to the buttonhole. And inside the buttonhole, we're just gonna place our double crochet. And then we're gonna go right back to maintaining our front and back bolts. Okay, so now we're going to carry this third and final row on this side all the way up and down to the opposite end, and we're done. We're going to cut our yarn, pull it through the loop, and we can weave in our ends on this side. But remember, what you've done on this side you must do on the other side. So just make sure. So my hole is here. Okay, and so I know I have placed my buttonhole on the 5th stitch, not the 5th stitch, the 5th row in between my purple. So I want to make sure I do the same on the other side. So this color could be pink for you. If you know you placed it on the 3rd row in your pink section on one side, then that helps you know what you should do on the opposite side. Now, if you are doing it in all one color, just make sure you mark it off. You know what row you place your stitch on, and you can go on the opposite side when you get to that area and put it the same place, because you don't want your poncho being wonky because one button's here and on the opposite side another button's here, and that you know you'll be totally be able to tell. So like I said, we're gonna go back down, finish the 3rd row, then we're done, do the other side, and then I will demonstrate where to put your buttons, and that is that. So we'll see you back with buttons. Okay, so we have put on both of our bottom borders first, both of our side borders. We've made our holes, and my hole should be right here for our buttons. Okay, so the last thing that we have to do is to place the buttons. So I'm going with these buttons, and again, yeah, I'm going with these buttons, and they will fit through the hole fine, um and also rest on there without going through the hole. Now if you choose buttons that are smaller than your hole is, then you're just going to take your yarn needle and the thread, that the yarn you were working with, and just sew it closed on either side in order to make it more fitting for your button if your hole is too big for your button to stay on place without that. Okay, think you got me. All right, so I want to make sure, and you want to make sure your piece is even so that the bottoms are aligned evenly before you start. So once you know that your piece is laying flat and even, and you're going to go by the bottom, make sure your piece is laying flat and even. You're going to find your buttonhole, okay? Which my buttonhole is right here. I'm going to move this over some to make sure it's more centered. We're going to find our buttonhole, okay? Now, this buttonhole is, the button is going to go obviously right and back of there. This is what I like to do to make sure I get my button in the right space. So I put my finger here. I'm right here. I know what stitch I'm on. I'm here. I'm going to take a piece of yarn and I'm going to wrap it around that space. And I'm going to pull this through to make sure it's even before I start. And it is, okay. So I want to make sure this sits right in the middle of where I'm going to place my button. So now that I see I have perfect placement, I'm going to move the front side. And remember, this is the front of our piece because the buttonhole has to be on the front of your piece. So I'm going to just move this like this. Now this is the inside of the back piece. And I already have my thread on my regular sewing needle. So before I put the button in place, I want to make sure I go around that stitch that I decided is the perfect placement for my button. And remember, you want to be on the I'm gonna do it again. You want to be on the second row. So you did 3 rows. You want to be the first and the second. You want to be around the second stitch. Not second stitch. You want to be on the second row. Okay. So I'm going to anchor, and I always anchor my thread before I put my buttons on. So you want to anchor your thread to the stitch on the second row. All right. And then I'm going to get my button. And now I'm going to place my button on. I can move this out the way now. And you're just going to anchor your button right there. So once you get your perfect placement, you want to make sure you place your button on that middle row, the second row. And then you just want to anchor that down really, really well. I'm going to go through this tons of times to make sure my button won't move. My button has so many weird little spaces. I don't want to go through the wrong space. And once you're sure your button is on so where it will not budge, it's not loose, it's nice and tight. When I'm done, I like to go through, but not go all the way through the back. And I want to end off my button right behind the button. which means I'm coming back out behind the button and not through the opposite side. And once I have done that, then I'm just going to create my knot, just a simple knot right and back of my button. So I'm going to go through the loop and pull it tight, and still right behind the button. I'm going to weave this back and forth to make sure that that button is on tight. And then I'm going to cut my string. And I'm going to cut where I started. And now my button is on. And my hole is right here. And like I said, it won't pass through. If you feel as though yours will, or if it does, then you're just going to come here and close it off right at your last stitch a little bit more. Okay. And you could use your thread or your yarn to do that if you need to close it off more. So button placed, you're going to place your second button in the same pattern and on the opposite side in the same manner. Now, the only other thing left to do, and I already had my needle ready, is you're going to use your yarn needle and you're going to weave in any loose ends that you now have from your border. And that is pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like this video if you like this video. Subscribe to our channel if you are not subscribed already. And follow me on all of my social media outlets, Facebook, Instagram. And until next time, I will see you in the comment section. And thank you for creating with me today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you like it. I love it. And yeah, see you next time on the corner.